23 years old. You're a superstar. You're one of the faces of the NBA. What has the last 10 or 11 days been like for you, and how are you doing?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Around the Association. Ja Morant sat down with Jalen Rose today and had a discussion in regards to where he's been, what's his road been like since he's been away from the team following flashing a gun at the club in Denver on that road trip. And this marks a very monumental point because Ja's one of the faces of the league, and he's the face of so many brands moving forward. He's the future. So this particular campaign now starts where he's rebranding himself as something else and trying to be a better person. So first let me salute Ja, and I hope all well with him. Take a listen here what Jalen Rose and Ja conversation was like. I'm gonna come back so we can discuss it.
Me personally, I feel mentally good that I haven't been in many years. I'm in a space where I'm very comfortable. I was constantly talking to therapists. I've been doing Reiki treatment. I've been doing anxiety breathing, different stuff to help me manage that and release all that stuff from my body.
When did you say, I'm gonna do this and it's necessary?
After I made a terrible mistake, being inside a club and went live, I put myself in a bad position. And also it's my daughter. There's times where she even tell me if she's had a bad day, and I feel like if she can tell me that, then I can be able to go and talk to somebody as well.
Now this next part, this is where Jalen Rose actually goes into the questioning related to that night that kind of triggered all this, where you was inside of the strip club and you're with that gun. Take a listen here.
You at the spot, Shotgun Willie's. You are holding a gun. And we both know how dangerous that can be. Whose gun were you holding?
Well, the gun wasn't mine. It's not who I am. I don't condone any type of violence, but I take full responsibility for my actions. Made a bad mistake, and I can see the image that I painted over myself with my recent mistakes. But in the future, I'm gonna show everybody who Ja really is, what I'm about, and change this narrative.
So there you are. I mean, Ja Morant speaking up. He's this is tough. I mean, however you feel about him, he made some very costly mistakes. As I understand, he's suspended without pay for these 8 games. He's already been out sick, so he can come back as early as Monday. I think for the Grizzlies game on Monday next week. So, but it takes it's very, very good first steps, I'll say, to come out. And he even mentioned his daughter, and I'm sure that had a lot. He's not only playing for the Memphis Grizzlies, he's building a future for his family. You know what I'm saying? So with that being understood, I understand why Ja said, you know what, let me get my mess together. Let me go out here and, I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack regardless. People going to have something to say, but at least let me control my own narrative. And for me, at least, that's kudos to Ja, and I look forward to moving forward, him making some better decisions.
So this has been a turbulent couple of years for him. There have been multiple incidents that have been negative for public consumption. And we talked about each of them. We talked about the speculation of what happened with the 17-year-old when they were playing basketball. We talked about the incident that happened with his mom at the mall. We talked about what happened with his sister in volleyball. We talked about what happened in Denver the night that he had the gun. I asked him about some of the hand signals that he does during the game, and I asked him, was he affiliated with the gang? And so I appreciated the fact that he showed humility. He was very open about how tough the last 10 or 14 days have been for him. He talked about the treatment that he's got to try to make him a better human being, and I applaud that.
So, Jalen Rose, it's not really surprising that Ja Morant opted for that conversation with Jalen. I mean, Jalen came out in high support of Ja Morant. I would say that, Jalen was probably hand selected by Ja Morant to do the interview, because Jalen said, hey, I was Ja Morant. I was riding around with the wrong crew, pistols in my hand, going inside the crack house, and I'm already in the NBA. I mean, so it's some relatability there. And, we got a snippet of what Jalen talked about. I'm sure the rest of the interview is going to come out. Now, before that, before I'm guessing ESPN's releasing that, Stephen A. Smith also had something to say in regards to Ja that I think was very powerful. Take a listen here.
I appreciate great job by Jalen. First of all, getting the interview, and secondly, asking the questions that you asked about a plethora of things, because I think it's important for Ja Morant and everybody around him to understand this. The commissioner of the NBA, that final step that you took today, was a very, very important step, because when you go into the commissioner's office, it's a reminder that you have people to answer to. You represent not just yourself, not just your family, not just the Memphis Grizzlies organization, but the NBA. And by the commissioner calling you in and ultimately suspending you thereafter, and also taking the time to hear what level of contrition you were willing to disseminate to everybody, the reality is that all of those folks that are around you need to remember that with all of this money, this fame, this stardom, there comes a level of responsibility that Ja Morant himself has to live up to. And so because of that, think about him. Think about the fact that he's 23 years of age. Think about the fact that he's going through all the things that Jalen highlighted, with the interview and with his conversation just now. Think about the load that's on this young man's shoulder. Remember that he's 23 years of age. And if you are his parents, if you are a brother, a sister, a sibling, a cousin, one of his boys, etc., all of you love him and want the best for him. Well, what's best for him to everybody is clearly to remain affiliated with the NBA and to continue to shine. Well, in order to do that, there's an obligation that comes along with it. It's not just about y'all. It's about him, and it's about the league, and it's about the organization. Remember that, and Ja Morant will be just fine.